So, John, can we start with you?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Hello, I'm John Walker. I'm director and co-editor of Rock Paper Shotgun, which is a PC gaming website of 10 years.
Hi, I'm Luke Walton, and I run a short film pitching competition called The Pitch.
So 10 years ago, me and 3 colleagues who'd all been working for various magazines and the websites in the industry decided we wanted to do one of our own, would be our own bosses. So we created the improbably named Rock Paper Shotgun. None of us have any idea how we got to that name and why that was better than anything else we thought of.
That was a good night out.
It was a very strange choice, but I guess it's worked. So we started off that business 10 years ago. That was 4 of us working in our spare time for no money for a long time, until eventually we got an audience, and we kept pushing and working on the principle that if we were good at our jobs, it would get somewhere. And that seems to have worked. We're now at the point where we've got 5 full-time employees, as well as 2 of the original starting members, an audience of, I don't think we ever declare our audience figures in public, so I probably shouldn't say, but it's I think the last time we declared it was around 3 million. And so we're kind of funded by advertising, so save that question.
About 10 years ago, also, 2007, I was looking for ways to engage in the arts, across theatre, sculpture, installations, and film's always been my passion. Came across a competition in the States, working with some other producers. We developed the idea for the competition, which we launched in 2009. The competition invites people to do an elevator pitch, 2-minute online pitch, and we offer, this year we'll be offering £30,000 production budget to make a short film, so it's worth winning, and we have a bunch of industry experts who choose a winning pitch at the finals at Pinewood Studios, and we then make the film and take the film and the winner to LA to network them into the industry over there, as well as networking you over here, obviously supporting you. I guess I'm here because that's about startup for a career in film in particular. That in itself is kind of a big lottery, but one of the key elements of getting started, apart from being a genius, is being spotted to be a genius. And that's a key kind of difference, okay? There may be many people who could make films around, but it is also about whether they get the right breaks in the right place at the right time to make a movie. And we're about trying to spot people so that that skill rises to the top, and we see credible talent.
I'm Sherry Robertshaw, and I actually used to work at Bath College last year, so some of you might have seen me around if you'd visited. But I'm from America, if you can't tell, 2 hours south of Chicago, and I went to Illinois State University where I studied graphic design, and from there I got an internship at State Farm, which is a big corporation, and I worked in their in-house design department for 8 years. And I got a lot of experience doing print design, so designing magazines, advertising design, billboards, got to come up with ideas for videos and do the storyboards and then art direct the video. Being on the magazine, I got to travel around and art direct the photo shoots and then design the pages of the magazine when I got back. And then I married a Brit and I moved over here. And I started working for his company and I did web design. So I didn't have a lot of experience in that, and I learned how to basically design for web and design websites, and I designed e-commerce websites, which is basically online shops. So if you go to aces.com, that's an e-commerce website. And now I work in Bristol at an agency, and I work on big clients like Johnson & Johnson and BP, and we have quite a few corporations at our agency. So I think my experience having worked at a corporation gives me insight into the way they work. So this company hired me so that I could kind of know what it's like to work in-house and offer that feedback. But so now I do digital design. I design websites and apps and just anything that you'll see online, basically. So yeah, I use Adobe software, so Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Not a lot of InDesign because that's a print software, but we use that to give presentations. We'll make PDFs and present with PDF. But I also use Sketch, which is an app that is built to design websites. Photoshop is great for designing for web, but Sketch is better in my opinion. It's quicker, it's easier to use, and it's always pixel perfect, whereas Photoshop is still really a photo editing software.
It's worth adding that all of the magazines you'll see on the shelves are pretty much done in InDesign as well,
Yeah.
aren't they? So,
InDesign is your print layout. Illustrator's your drawing icons, drawing illustrations. Photoshop is photo editing. Also, you can do websites. Sketch is like the InDesign of print. It's a layout tool for web.
What qualifications do I have? That's
I'm
really...
laughing because I know the answer to this.
This is, yeah, okay, so film's an interesting one, okay? So my film qualifications are zip. I have a law degree. I have a theology degree. I'm ordained. There you go. That doesn't normally go with being producer. But, so the answer actually is you don't need any, but you do need to work hard and read lots, watch lots, think hard, work with the right people. Now, when I went to uni, most of my year didn't go off to think, how can I make film? One of them did, Sam Mendes. He does make quite good films now.
So just to clarify, Luke went to school with Sam Mendes.
So if
Okay.
you
you
can
hear that name drop. It's in the
you-
floor.
Yeah, it's
I'll
a
pick
fairly
that
big
one up
thumb,
for you.
but-
It's a lot easier to make films now than it was probably when you were at school.
yeah,
There's more opportunity out there,
yeah,
but that sort of flips both ways in that the market is probably a lot more saturated than it might possibly been. But someone like Sam Mendes, who wouldn't read English, was it?
English.
Yeah, he probably used that as a springboard to what he wanted to go on to do next.
I mean, he's a bit of a talent anyway. So
And his background is theatre.
theatre, yeah. He went off to Cambridge and directed stuff at Cambridge. Went to the Fringe. First thing he got asked to do was direct Judi Dench in the Cherry Orchard for the National Theatre. So kind of, really, come on. This bit sort of, oh yeah, obviously that's your first break. Now, if I did that to you, that'd be crazy. On the other hand, I think that the access to the kit is right, but it's what you do with the access to the kit. You could probably use, not my crashed out iPhone 4, but I mean, there is kit you can use and access, but it's how you use it makes the difference. That's about beginning that journey and going, okay, if that really is the bit that works for me, what's the best line for me? And the best place you could end up would be the National Film and Television School. But there's a journey between here and there, okay? And if you can get in there, then you're already making it when you get onto their course. So I think it's showing your talent and knowing at what stage you are at in terms of getting visibility. That's counts. Yeah, sorry, long answer.
And I'll say this, at corporations, they hire people that have video experience all the time. You might not get to create your own idea, but what you'll do is you'll help a business come up with the right message, and then you'll help them film it or help them edit it. So I knew people at State Farm that were video editors, and they worked in a suite with like 4 different screens, soundproof, and they edited video all day. And yeah, it was a lot of messages from leadership or kind of boring, videos, but that was their job. They got paid really well to do that. So, ideally, yeah, you could be creative and make your own film and direct it and do all of it, but you also can work for places that will hire you to edit or shoot or do other things. So
I mean, if you look in the CVs of most major directors, you'll find that they started out maybe shooting music videos or doing corporate film, or there's this is an entry in your CV, even if it's maybe not the sort of inspirational work you were looking for. It's a thing on your CV that opens doors the next time when you get closer and closer to your goal.
There's a really famous Hovis ad. It's ages old. It's got a little kid on a bike going down a hill. Have you ever seen this one? There's a kind of Hovis music playing in the background. You know the Hovis music? If I said it's New World Symphony, it's kind of a brass, that kind of thing, right? Okay, that advert was made way, way back in the 70s. Instantly became a Hovis staple. Ridley Scott, director.
No way.
So the corporate way in is, our winner last year, Vanessa Perdrio, she's a Kiwi. She's editor for CNN, doing endless TV stuff, so worked her way into TV.
it gives you practice, and that's what you need. If you can get paid to just practice and learn, then that's great. Like, you don't have to be doing all your own ideas, just to learn.
Okay, I guess, mine is most visibly changed, I guess, in terms of everything used to be in printed magazines that came out once a month when I started. So I started in 98, 99. And which was, I started when I was 18 or 19, so there's not really an age gap barrier to this stuff either. But yeah, it was all monthly magazines, and this is the internet was in people's homes by about 96, but it wasn't taking over at that point. So now, yes, everything is online. Magazines are barely clinging on, and I imagine if any of you are into gaming, there's probably a good chance you get a lot of your material from YouTube rather than from oldie worldy gaming websites like mine. And so yeah, that's a huge change for us. What's been really interesting, there's a lot of talk in the industry, people saying, "Oh no, YouTube is coming, we're all going to die." It isn't true. It's a whole extra market alongside us. So our numbers continue to go up, and in fact, people watching YouTube videos come to us, and people reading us go to YouTube, and we share it. I don't understand it. I finally realised I'm old when I went, that thing when your parents say to you, "Oh, how can you listen to this noise?" And I thought, I'll never be the person who says that. And now I'm 39, and I look at PewDiePie and I go, ugh. I've realised I'm there. And I'm so excited about that, because that means there's a whole new generation coming through who are going to be different and better than me and more and make something relevant. So I guess if any of you are into that stuff, you'll be needing to figure out what comes after YouTube.
Yeah, for my industry, I come from print design, and then when the web started to get big, I would say it was really hard to design for it because you could only use certain fonts, and it was really tricky how to get it to work the way you'd want it to. And they tried to make designers learn code. I hate it. I didn't want to build my own website. So it's great because now I can design it, and if I work with a really talented developer, they can build it exactly how I want it, and we collaborate. And if I say I want it to have a video in the top that's playing when they land, and I want the type to animate in like this, they can build that with CSS, and it's awesome. So my industry is so much more fun because I can use whatever typeface I want, and you can get it on the web, whereas it used to be where, you just had to use Arial. But it's hard as well because, as a designer, I want to be able to do whatever I want, but I still need to think like a developer and remember that if I tell them to do it a certain way and it's really hard for him to do it that way, I should know that so that I'm not just giving him 4 times as much work to do. So it's important to communicate with the developers so you can understand what each other does.
Yeah, I think film has, it's been around 120 years, so it's a bit longer, but as a live industry, the web is always going to be the big thing that's changed it. My grandmother's generation years ago flight was the big thing that changed their world. The internet's the big thing that's changed our world, and will continue to do so. But that doesn't mean that content doesn't continue to need to be made. Netflix and other kind of content providers, online content providers, massive buyers into the industry. So just more platforms, more content needed. Whether that means more good content or just larger amounts of dross is another question. I think the stories of the demise of cinemas have been over-exaggerated. Well, they were in the 1950s. Everybody thought it was going to crash and die and burn with TV. TV's the death of cinema. No one's ever going to go again. But there is something about a corporate experience, going with your mates, being in that kind of immersive experience that we were talking before we met. We were talking about virtual reality and whether VR games were really going to come good, and how the kit is quite cumbersome. The kit to sit in a really good Dolby 5.1 surround sound with decent dark light and proper screen called, I'm
dark screen.
The Odeon.
I don't know what. It's all right. Your local cinema.
The little theatre or the Odeon.
The theatre. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not.
And you can get unlimited to Odeon now, right? They've started doing unlimited passes.
They're
So
doing it again,
yeah.
But it's still £17.
Yeah.
I've got a
2
question
packs of
actually, which
cigarettes.
is a quick follow-up question to what we just talked about. What scares you in your industries for the future? Maybe wherever you're at, but what scares you, which these guys might need to be mindful of?
The advertising terrifies me. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense, and it's the entire basis of my business. And I feel like at any moment someone's going to realise what a silly idea it is, and it'll stop doing it, and then suddenly I won't know how to make any money. So that's, advertising is absolutely bewildering. The ebbs and flows, who wants to advertise and why seems to be based on insane whims.
Can you explain
Um,
how advertising works? On
So at the
your
moment,
site?
thankfully for us, because the four of us who started it, we can write, but that's about the extent of our talents. So we did a deal with a company called Gamer Network or Eurogamer, who to handle our advertising for us. Thankfully, we don't even have to think about it. So they have someone who's employed to sell ads on Rock Paper Shotgun, and so this person just spends his day doing that. And so companies will buy what they call takeover ads, so that will be around the outside of the website, so it'll be the whole thing that dominates. Please don't ad block, by the way. Here's my ad block. Okay, here's my ad block thing. If you're using ad block, switch it so it defaults to off, and then if a site's driving you insane with its adverts, turn it on. That's the solution, I think. And so so the takeover ad puts a thing over the site, and they pay a certain amount of money for a week of that, and then there are little block ads, and then there's hateful little taboola things like, you won't believe what this celebrity looks like now, the awful stuff. They make a fortune, and so there's loads of different ways that adverts get onto your site, but the whims keep changing. So the advertising, at 1 minute they'll want they'll want your website to have an enormous number of unique users, which means individuals that read your website every month. And then the next year it'll be they don't care about that number, they want to know page views, how many times your site's loaded. So it could be the one person just manically refreshing your website. That's what they want right now, apparently. So this changes so often, and it's frightening because you can't predict that. And at any moment, people are always predicting the bottom falling out of that. So that's quite, I'm terrified of that.
Luke?
I'd build on funding, really. I think funding is, content requires money to make, so funding is always an issue. You work hard to make sure the people who are backing you, and in my case it's charities on the whole and film businesses, you work hard to get the feeling that they are with you, they're in because of the content, because of the people, because of the standard. But that means you have to work hard to maintain what you do. That's why you get up in the morning.
Design has changed in the last 100 years to go from people like setting out type, hand putting letters in rows and printing paper over it, to now the web. But the design principles are the same. But I wonder if AI can start to predict and offer auto suggestions. Like right now, you type and you get auto corrected on if you have a misspelling. But what if a developer who has no design experience but has good taste could start to build a website and just be offered ideas of ways to make it look better? That doesn't mean they don't need a creative person to see the overall picture and offer feedback, but that could completely change the industry. And it's not necessarily scary. I think it's interesting. Like, I think AI is amazing, and I think if it could do that, that would be really cool. But I also think people should understand the whys behind those principles. I think, if they're just told to make a font bigger and they don't know why, they might do it because this AI thing's telling them to, but they don't know why the hierarchy of the page should be a certain way or why that looks good. So I think it's still really important that we all learn the basis of our field and really understand the whys behind things. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I've had a teacher at university that was very inspiring to me. She was really talented, really great with typography, and that's what I love is type. So I think without her support, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but I got into State Farm through an internship, and I think it's really helpful to get internships if you guys can, because it gives you practice and it gives you an idea of whether you'd want to be paid to do this stuff. So she was really supportive and helped me get internships, but her work was also really good. So that was really.
So I think some of the people I've worked alongside, Jackie Shepherd and Mark Blaney from Footprint Films, I found particularly inspiring just in the kind of dogged determination with which they set about the task of what they do. Nick Park, I think, he's fantastic at storytelling. He's, apart from perhaps being our most decorated filmmaker, is he our most decorated? 5 Oscars, 4 BAFTAs. No, 5 BAFTAs, 4 Oscars. He has been beaten at the Oscars, but by himself. So he got nominated twice in 1 year and beat himself.
just to kind of extend that, with someone like Nick Park as well, who obviously I've met through Luke. I think I've said this to a couple of you, everyone thinks that to make it in the film industry or in any creative industry, you have to be the loudest, the most brash, the most dedicated, the most, the person that will do it, who's relentless to achieve. And then you meet Nick, and
You realise he is actually Wallace.
yeah, he is literally, he is the total antithesis of that. Luke, how would you describe him?
Wallace, I think.
Wallace.
He really is. He's more like that the longer he goes. He's very diffident. I think. I think film people care about. They care about the films they make. They care about animators. Spend 4 or 5 years before they shoot anything, making sure that every single frame is going to count. They can't afford to shoot stuff at 3 seconds a day. You cannot afford to shoot 30 seconds of film, and then just chuck it out. You don't do it. So he really cares about story. He's passionate about character and story and writing. That's really what. You might think he's all visual. He is naturally visual, but those writing skills that you're working at aren't just about writing a good CV, communicating clearly. They're at the heart of creative industries, and I'm sure you can say more about it.
Well, my answer is ridiculously specific. It's when I was 10, 11 years old, there was a magazine called Your Sinclair, which was for the ZX Spectrum and the Spectrum home computer. And it was just insane. It was, when I was that young, it was a magical thing. It was every month this magazine of just madness would come out. It had the T-shirt for it. This is to find it in the 80s. The T-shirt was this big white T-shirt, and it said Your Sinclair, the logo, and then in giant pink letters, It's crap. And then underneath, in a funky Skillo kind of way. This was the 80s. I desperately wanted one of those T-shirts. My mum wouldn't let me have one because it had a swear on it. But this magazine was incredible, and it was written by people like Stuart Campbell and Rich Pelly and so on. And then I went away and didn't think I was going to do that with my life. And then when I got the opportunity to start writing, I was like, this is what I want it to be. I want to be this thing I adored so much when I was young, and I still do. Even now when I'm writing, I still want to evoke. I want someone else to read my stuff and have the same feeling that I did reading Your Sinclair. And that really drives me. I'm extraordinarily fortunate to be very close friends with one of those writers now by a series of weird coincidences. And so he keeps me in check, which is good too. Do meet your heroes. But yeah, no, so it's something like that specific, because it still drives me now, this thing I loved as a child and just want to emulate in everything I do. So, yeah.
And write to them. That's a really good point. Meet your heroes. Write to them. If you've got somebody who's in an industry and you think they might help me with my job, write to them. Say that you're wanting to do this. I wrote to a bunch of people before I set off on different career hoops. And I think, and most of us who are in a job will want to encourage you and help you. Everybody's got to work, right? And it's great when somebody wants to come and be in our industry, because we kind of go, great, the future for our industry.
It's amazing how infrequently I get an email from someone saying, hey, I want to do your job, what do I need to do? It happens, it happens enough that I have a stock response, but then always lose it and write a new one every single time. But yeah, I love it, and especially if you can see that gem of talent in someone. If you can see, you read someone's email and there's something of just about how they've written 2 paragraphs, and you go, oh, there's something in that, there's a spark. I love it. And just sort of trying to help that person get that spark going. I love doing that, so probably the person you care about might want to do that too. Don't do unpaid internships.
Don't do the unpaid ones, yeah.
It's a con. They are robbing you. They are robbing you.
But if you look sort of in Bath or in Bristol, a lot of them are unpaid, and you're getting.
They used to call that slavery. It's weird. It's just the same thing.
Well,
Yeah.
what I would recommend if you are interested in design, or I assume this is true of film too, but just do lots of work. Do lots and lots and lots of work. And then pick your best 3, 4, 5 things, put it on a portfolio website, and tell people you're a freelancer. And whether you are or not, doesn't matter, learn how to do it. And you can be honest with a new client, ease your way in by getting people like your family and a friend, and slowly do real work for real people and not just fake work that you've given yourself. And then you'd be amazed at how people will pay you to do the work, because they don't know how. And you do know more than they do. You might not think you know much more, But one thing that is really important is that you ask them lots of questions and really understand what their work is. Because if they're paying you, that means that they are trying to communicate their message, but they need your help to make it look okay, and like if you're a designer. So yeah, I would just say, yeah, you have to do the work though. And so experience can be paid experience, but it can also be just, for instance, you could go online and see an ugly logo and say, I'm going to redesign that logo this weekend, and come up with lots. And don't just look at it and say, oh, I'm going to make that look better. You have to research the company, to give yourself a design brief and figure out who their audience is, you know, what's the problem with the logo, define the problem, figure out like, you know, what's trending now. Should it be a trendy logo or should it be a timeless logo? So really think about it. And then when you put that in your portfolio, give that strategy on the page that you did all this. So yeah, people, they will pay you to do work. It's just, you've got to build up to it a little bit. So.
I think as in terms of qualifications, they're great if you have them, but you don't need them. So they're not a disadvantage in any stretch. But I dropped out of university. I dropped out of a film degree and then started doing the writing. But then I got a degree in youth community work and applied theology. You know? So apparently theology degrees the way you need to.
That's the way. Oddly, weirdly,
yeah.
It works.
My colleagues, Kieran Gillen, who's gone on to become Mr. Famous comic book writer, has a degree in biology. Jim Rossignol, another colleague who now runs a games development company called Big Robot, has a degree in philosophy. So you don't having a degree is really helpful if you can afford it. I think it's crucial to point out that the three names I've just given are all people who got degrees for free. So that's a different situation now.
That's true.
If you can afford it, get a degree in something you care about, because that's much more important. But you can work for yourself for free. I think that's a really important qualification. Protect your spare time. Build walls around it. Say, okay, I need to go out and have fun, but I also need to spend an hour a day or 2 hours a week or whatever it is you can do, just working on my own project. So if you care about writing, which is what I care about, write all the damn time, read all the damn time, and write all the damn time, and just keep writing and expose your writing in horrible, awful ways. I know blogs are pretty dead, but Medium or whatever format you want to use, put it out there so other people can read it and give feedback. Expose your writing to the outside world, and let it be crap, let it be shitty writing that you'll take feedback on and then do a better job the next time, and just listen to that criticism and just keep fighting. People submit ideas to us all the time if they want to write for us, and I would say when we advertise a job, we normally get about 250 applicants, of which 10 will even consider. I mean, it's that dire, the field out there. And so if you're good, oh my God, you're going to stand out, because most people aren't. So just get good, practice, and get good. And you will stand out, and people will want to throw money at you if you're good.
Sorry, I missed your name.
Lola.
Lola, and what do you want to do? Do you want to do design? Are you here with, what's your sphere?
I like writing.
You like writing. Journalism is your thing.
Yeah, and like I say, just keep
Yeah.
writing and writing and writing.
He's your man.
Don't let people not pay you. Please don't let that.
Right.
We have websites in this industry. I can always think of Pocket Gamers, one to not work for, who will constantly say, hey, even running this competitions. We're running a competition.
Yeah, don't
and the
do
winner
that.
of this competition gets to work for us for no money. It's like, no, that's not a prize. It's
Yeah.
a punishment.
They're out there for design too.
Yeah. And they say, but you need experience. I got into this business. It's the experience you're getting is so vital. It's like, no, you're getting advertising content on your site filled by my work, which you're not paying me for. We will pay all our freelancers, anyone new, a full rate from scratch, and everyone should. So.
When did you stop your education?
I did get a degree.
Yeah.
I got 2 degrees, yeah.
And when
Several
did you start
degrees.
your job?
I graduated my degree as I was 28.
Okay.
30.
So
You want to know what age we were? Or?
no. My point is that you're all at an age where you're in this position where you're doing a course that's only going to benefit
Yeah.
what you want to do long term.
Yeah.
And just a quick show of hands, how many people here are thinking about university? And I just point out, I'd go back if I could, all right, because it was a really good laugh. But it's not for everyone.
It's not.
A lot of ex-students that come in always, they're working jobs they're working in. One came in a couple of weeks ago. He's going to come and chat to you as well. He works in Homebase full time, but he's taking on paid projects on top of that till he makes himself sustainable in what he wants to do. So there's a certain part of you have to be smart with the decisions that you're making if this is what you want to do. And I think you've got to be strategic and realistic, and that is you can't slave yourself out. But the film industry, for example, if it's like film drama you want to get into and create feature films, you're going to have to go down the short film circuit nowadays, because it's very gone are the days where Steven Spielberg gets given X amount of million to go and make Jaws at the age of 27. It's, I could probably count on one hand the amount of people that get offered that amount of money.
La La Land.
Yeah, La La Land being the other one. But La La Land only came about because of the success
Sure.
of Whiplash.
Exactly.
My wife went and saw that last night, and now her love of Ryan Gosling is gone to the next level.
Can I just come back to Lola?
Yeah.
I was going to say to you, if you said film, I was going to say send your CV. So, I mean, we are doing an internship and it will be paid. May not be much, but it will be paid. So I'm always up for that. But there are other, within the film industry, then there are opportunities for runners. And yes, there are jobs there where you go in for the experience more than the money on them. But the thing I wanted to come back about was the long-term thing. So I think education is good if you're sure you know what you want to do and it's going to fuel that. Mm-hmm. Take those decisions wisely in a world where you end up with a debt. I just think that is a game changer from when we had 3 degrees. So, or I did anyway. But I think the long-term thing here, right? Okay, so people think that their most effective decade is going to be their 20s because that's kind of like they've got energy, right? They've got energy, and then suddenly that 20s, blink, and you'll be going, oh, do you remember that old dude who came and talked to us one morning, and he said we'd get to our 30s one morning and go, oh wow, that came around quite quick. Well, it's true of the 30s and the 40s, and they're saying that a lot of people's most effective years are their 50s. Which I'm really celebrating right now. So I'm up for that. So the question I want to ask you is, if that can be true, what would you lay down to achieve for the long term? Because most people expect to do more in 1 year than they can achieve and fail to plan for 3 to 5 years all that they could do. So everybody runs around like headless chickens going, I didn't get everything I wanted to do this year. They get to 5 years and go, I haven't got anywhere. That's because they weren't planning for the 5 years and they were trying to do too much in one. So the answer to your question is, take a longer view, take a deep breath. God willing, you don't, there's nothing else that trips you up. You've got time.
And there's nothing wrong with working in Sainsbury's while you're doing this.
No.
Seriously, I'm not
No,
kidding.
there's
I was just thinking one writer I know was working, for PC Gamer, was working nights in a petrol station until he got spotted. So,
Yeah.
However you make your money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I really like what you said, John, about ring fencing.
Yeah, protecting your spare time.
Protecting your spare time.
Yes.
Because even now,
I think I'm just saying that because I've got a 2-year-old and that's all I can think about is how do I protect my spare time.
I'm with you on that. Like, at the moment, and you've heard me say before, you guys have the most amount of disposable time you probably ever will. So it's, what are you doing? It's all one saying, I want to make it here, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I was having tutorials with some students this morning. I want to do this. It's like, well, what are you doing with your spare time when you consider what you've got on offer here? Sherry said right at the start, what software you use. And it's the software that we've got here. Mm-hmm. And how many people have got that at home? Not many of you. So I think, be really vigilant with the time that you've got and how you want to use that. And definitely. Even my wife and I have a 3-year plan, okay? We're that boring, okay? Where we think what realistically what we're going to achieve in the next 12 months and what we're going to achieve in 3 years. And we started doing this since we got married. And we've just at the start of a new plan and we achieved everything we wanted to achieve in the last 3 years because we were strategic about it. Because time, believe it or not, only feels like yesterday I was stumbling out of nightclubs at university. And yet here I am with 2 kids, a mortgage, and a career.
That was just one night out. And look
Yeah,
at
just
what
one
happened.
night out, and look what happened.
Just
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one time.
Yeah.
Do both, though. Do both. So I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really
yeah,
important.
Yeah, have a bit of fun. But
Yes.
but also, my 16-year-old Polly is just doing her mock GCSEs at the moment, and she consumes social media like you guys must be at the moment, and it varies completely between which YouTubers she's following, and she's big on Mock the Week. So this morning there were lots of Mock the Week kind of things you wouldn't say in a science class or something, which is hysterically funny. But actually that kind of easy, soft time that you fill with some such, are you filling it with something that has anything to do with your dreams? Or is it being driven by the people who are looking for your consumption? How are you being defined? Because if you start defining yourself and then consuming what works with that, reading some stuff, watching stuff that works with that, that makes a difference. If you want to write, read a whole variety of journalism stuff. Pick up some books by some great journalists.
My dad once did my dad did once apologise to me. Said, "I'm really sorry for all the times I told you to stop playing video games and do your homework." So that was good.
Well, I think it's really important to create and consume, but don't just consume.
Yeah.
So consume what you're interested in. Bookmark the ones that are really good, like the stuff that you know is really good, so you can go back and be inspired by it later. And then create. So don't just consume. It is so easy, and I fall into it too, to just consume. And I can read design articles all day. I can watch YouTube videos. I can easily be distracted. And it's so important that when I have spare time, that I'm also still creating. So just don't forget to protect that time and create. And then when you need a break, consume. But don't just consume all the time. Especially if you like creating. Sometimes it's hard to start creating when you've been consuming for so long, but you have to do it if you want to do this.
Okay, sort of wary of time and the fact that you guys have been sat in here for quite a long time. Should we have maybe one final question? Yes, unless there's more, by the way, but yeah.
How do people get started with the jobs? Because worried that I don't know what to do after school, get into the industries and stuff.
I started with an internship, and it was a paid one, and then at the end of it, they hired me. So it was a way for me to get to know them, and they got to know me, and yeah, so that's what I ended up doing.
Oh gosh, I was in a theatre company at one point. I was acting in between the other things that I mentioned, and I got a job reviewing films for the BBC, which probably helped me get other points to get the job I got. So mine's not terribly helpful, except that I always try. I think I gained a skill because I've changed jobs so many times from so many different things. I have learned to look for the thing you're doing at the moment and spot what are the skills that will translate across. What are the things that being a manager in a health service will help you be a vicar? What are the things that reviewing film will help you, being on stage will help you with film, and some won't, some will. And those things switch across different places. What do you want to do?
Editing and stuff.
Editing on film?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, you need to get to sit alongside an editor sometime.
Yeah.
Drop me a note. Come and sit alongside an editor. There you go. That'll get you going.
I got lucky in lots of different ways. I mean, I failed my A-levels twice, which didn't help, but in that time, watched and consumed a lot of comedy, and wrote a website about a comedian in the 90s called Chris Morris that got some attention at the time, and then made some contacts doing that. So it was just something I did as a hobby in my spare time. When I was in my aborted attempt at a film degree, I got in touch with some of those same people and asked if I could do movie reviews for Total Film. And I was the only person they knew with a DVD player, because I'm very old. And so they said yes on that basis, because I had a DVD drive in my PC. So I started doing DVD reviews for Total Film, and then that sort of led to reviews of released movies and stuff. And that just opened doors to other places, and I contacted PC Gamer and said, hi, I want to review video games. And they sent me 2 terrible games in the post and told me to review them that was on Friday, told me to review them by Monday. So it was sort of baptism by fire affair. And they liked it. So it was it's just, I guess it was a cascading of pushing at doors. And so doing this website got me contacts, and building up contacts was really helpful. So don't ignore that. Grab a contact whenever you can get it and keep it. And then keep nagging people. It's really helpful.
Your question?
What kind of excites you about your job the most? Like when you started off, what was the thing that excited you the most about it?
Making a difference. I suffer from anxiety disorder, and it's been quite crippling at points in my life, and I've written about that on Rock Paper Shotgun, which might seem incongruous to a PC gaming website and write about that, but actually it turns out loads of people who are creative suffer from anxiety disorder. The two seem to go hand in hand, and loads of our readers benefited from reading that. It was a weird moment, but it basically I'd built up a platform big enough where I could make a difference in writing about this. My dad died last year. I wrote about that on the site too, and I just realised that I've got a place where my voice can be useful in some way, and that's what makes me most excited.
I still get excited by solving a problem. I know that sounds kind of lame, but
Oh.
I really enjoy getting a brand new, exciting project and figuring out how to do it in the best way possible. And I still get excited by that. I've been enjoying learning user experience, meaning figuring out the users and what they do, and wireframing and testing it and seeing what people do. So it's just interesting to me to see where people click and how their brain works. But yeah, I still get excited by making things look pretty, but I've been doing that for a long time. So now I like to think a bit more, I guess. But yeah, solving problems excites me.
Ever since Cruella de Vil swept into the kitchen and threatened to kill the puppies, I have just wanted to make films. You know, just that was I was a kid, tiny kid, and just thought, wow, this is so. There's nothing beats the lights going down, the light coming up. For me, that's just extraordinary. There's a whole bunch of really, really, really boring work, collecting receipts, doing tube travel. You know, there's a load of kind of work that goes into building a team, to make an event, to shoot a film, to produce, to get the end. But that's fantastic. That feeling on Saturday night the other week when we premiered a film from last year, which we do at the finals at Pinewood each year. Lights go, it's terrifying. You've got a room full of people. You don't know how they're going to react. It's absolutely terrifying and wonderful at the same time, and really inspiring, and seeing people come up with new, fresh ideas, stories that haven't yet been told. We're storytellers. All of us are storytellers. When you go out of here, you'll tell each other stories. You'll probably tell stories that weren't about this conversation. You'll tell fun things, but you will tell stories. And filmmaking is all just about storytelling, and that's a wonderfully exciting thing to do. But he went and read English, so he didn't go and do film, whereas you guys all have lots of film courses. So that's it's an odd thing for me to say I don't have them, but you can do it, is possibly true. But on the other hand, you've got lots of opportunities to go on some really good courses. So the thing for you to think about right now is, what area of film really excites me? I mean, do you want to be a DP, a director, a writer? What do you want to do?
Thank you, everyone. Good. Well done.
Can we just say thank you for your
Okay, thank you, Jay.